John's ship cut through the endless black of space, silent except for the low hum of the engines. He had been traveling for weeks, exploring new systems for colonies humans might inhabit in the future. His mission was simple: survey planets, collect data, and report. But deep down, he hoped for something extraordinary, something beyond the ordinary calculations of science and routine exploration. After days of scanning, his sensors picked up a small planet orbiting a distant star. It was unlike any world he had seen before. The planet's surface shimmered with colors that shifted like liquid, and clouds glowed softly with hues of green and gold. Streams of light arched across the sky like delicate ribbons, and strange floating creatures danced above the forests. John felt a mixture of excitement and caution. He had to see this planet up close. He landed his ship on a flat plateau surrounded by glowing plants. The air was breathable, though it smelled faintly sweet. The ground pulsed with a gentle warmth, as if the planet itself were alive. John stepped outside, his boots making soft impressions in the luminous soil. He activated his scanner, checking for life signs. The results were strange. There was a small life form nearby, moving cautiously through the glowing trees. John followed the signal carefully. As he moved deeper into the forest, he saw her, a small girl, no more than 7 years old. Her skin shimmered slightly, reflecting the light from the plants. Her eyes were large and bright, colored like molten amber. She froze when she saw John, hiding behind a tree with wide eyes. John crouched to appear less threatening. "Hello," he said softly. "I am John. I won't hurt you." The girl hesitated. Then, with a quiet voice that seemed far too small for her presence, she said, "Father." John blinked. The word hung in the air, heavy with meaning he could not understand. "Father," he repeated. "I think you are mistaken. My name is John. I am not your father." But the girl shook her head. She clutched a small, glowing device close to her chest and whispered again, "Father." John's heart skipped a beat. Something about her tone was strange. It was not just a child calling him a name. There was certainty, trust, and a deep connection. He could not explain why, but he felt drawn to protect her. He took another step forward slowly. "Come with me," he said. "You are safe here. I will help you." The girl hesitated, glancing at the forest around her. There were strange shapes moving in the shadows, and her instincts told her to run. But something in John's calm voice, his steady presence, made her pause. She took a small step forward. Then another. Finally, she moved closer to him, still holding her device tightly. John noticed she wore simple clothes, made from strange fabric that shimmered in the light. She seemed out of place in this wild, glowing world. As he looked closer, he realized she had small marks on her wrists and neck, like tiny sigils that glowed faintly. These were not just decorations. They were symbols of something important, something he did not yet understand. "Do you live here?" John asked gently. The girl nodded. "Yes. I live with my mother. She is the princess." John froze. The word princess made his mind race. There were no human colonies on this planet. No royal families that he knew of. Yet the girl spoke the truth in her eyes, full of pride and fear at the same time. "You are a princess?" John asked, keeping his tone calm. "And you are alone?" The girl nodded again. Her lips trembled. "They came for me. I ran. I cannot go back yet." John looked around. The forest was strange but beautiful, filled with glowing plants and gentle sounds. He did not see any immediate danger, but he trusted the girl's instincts. Whoever she was running from, it was serious. "Then I will help you," John said firmly. "You will be safe with me. We will figure out what to do next." The girl looked at him with wide eyes. She did not speak for a long time, only studying him. Then, slowly, she took his hand. Her touch was small and fragile, but it carried an unspoken weight. She trusted him completely, even though she barely knew him. John led her to his ship. As they walked, he asked her simple questions, trying to understand her. "What is your name?" "Myra," she said. "Myra," John repeated, testing the name. It felt strange on his tongue but also comforting. "Do you know why you call me father?" Myra hesitated. She looked down at the glowing device she held. "They said, someone would protect me. Someone strong. Someone who could love me as my parent should." "You, or him?" John swallowed. He did not understand. He had never been a parent. Yet, hearing Myra's words, he felt a strange warmth in his chest. He wanted to be that protector, no matter what it took. Once aboard the ship, John gave Myra a place to sit. He offered her food, water, and a blanket. She accepted quietly, still clutching her device. John watched her carefully. She was intelligent beyond her years, speaking in short, clear sentences, but also cautious. It was clear she had seen fear and danger that no child should face. As night fell on the glowing planet, John looked out of the ship's viewport. The sky was alive with floating lights and streams of color, painting a picture of beauty and mystery. He realized that Myra's presence had changed everything. He had come to this planet expecting exploration and discovery, but he had found something more. He had found a connection that was deeper than science, deeper than curiosity. Myra sat quietly beside him, her small hand resting in his. She whispered, almost to herself, "Father, I am glad I found you." John did not respond immediately. He felt the weight of her words. They were simple, yet carried a promise. A promise of trust, of hope, of a bond that would grow stronger with each passing moment. For the first time in his life, John realized that this mission was no longer just about exploration. It was about protection, about understanding, and about something larger than himself. Myra had chosen him, and now he had to rise to the challenge. The stars above shimmered as the ship prepared for its next journey. John knew the path ahead would be dangerous. He did not yet know who had taken Myra from her home, or what threats awaited them. But he was ready. Whatever came, he would protect her. He would keep her safe, no matter what it took. And Myra, the small alien princess, had already decided that John was the one she could trust. He was her father, even if he did not yet fully understand what that meant. The adventure had just begun, and both human and alien were about to step into a world full of mystery, danger, and discovery. Together, they would face challenges that neither could handle alone. Together, they would learn that trust, courage, and love could bridge worlds. The ship's engines hummed softly as John adjusted the controls. Myra sat on a small seat, her glowing device held tightly in her hands. She watched him carefully, her large amber eyes full of curiosity and caution. Every movement he made seemed to matter to her, as if she were measuring his trustworthiness with each gesture. John turned toward her. "Myra, can you tell me more about your home? Where your mother lives?" Myra's lips trembled as she whispered, "The palace is far from here. It floats above the trees. My mother is Princess Arena. She protects the people of our planet." John nodded. He had heard of floating cities in human myths, but seeing one in real life would be extraordinary. "Your mother is a princess?" he asked gently. "Then why are you alone here?" Myra looked down at her device. The faint glow from it reflected in her eyes. "They came for me. I do not know why. My mother could not protect me in time. I ran. I could not stay behind." John felt a pang in his chest. She was small, fragile, yet so brave. He wanted to comfort her, but words felt insufficient. Instead, he offered her a simple gesture. You are safe with me now, he said. I will help you. No one will hurt you here. Myra studied him silently for a long moment. Then, slowly, she nodded. Her trust was given cautiously, but fully. John knew he had to understand more about her world. He activated the ship's scanner to read the device Myra held. It pulsed gently as he approached. The scanner interpreted the data as a mix of language symbols and genetic codes. John's eyes widened. This was not just a communication tool. This was a record of her life, her family, and something much more complex. Myra, this device, it has a lot of information about you and your mother, John said carefully. Can you show me how it works? The girl hesitated. Then, placing her small hand on the device, she activated a holographic projection. The light formed a miniature city in the air, floating towers and bridges glowing softly. Myra pointed to one building. That is the palace. My mother lives there. She keeps the people safe. She rules them. John examined the projection. He noticed symbols and figures moving along the bridges, representing people and activities. It was more advanced than any human city he had ever seen. He felt a mix of awe and concern. And you are part of this world, he said softly. But why did they take you? Myra shook her head. I do not know. I only remember running. I was told to find someone who could keep me safe. That person is you. John blinked. Me, he asked. I am just a human explorer. I do not belong here. Why would they choose me? Myra looked at him with wide, serious eyes. You are strong and kind. You understand love. That is what they said I needed. John felt a strange warmth in his chest. Her words were simple, yet they carried weight far beyond her age. He had never thought of himself as special, but her trust made him feel responsible in a way he had never experienced. Then I will protect you, he said firmly. No matter what. I will keep you safe until we understand why you were sent here. Myra smiled faintly, a small, cautious smile. She seemed to relax for the first time since John had found her. The device's glow dimmed slightly, as if it responded to her calm. John began to ask questions about her daily life in the palace. Myra spoke slowly but clearly, telling him about floating gardens, people with strange abilities, and lessons she had learned from her mother. She described Princess Irina as kind, intelligent, and strong. John realized that Myra's mother must be an extraordinary leader to guide a world so different from his own. As the hours passed, John learned more about the threats that Myra had faced. Rival factions wanted to control the planet, believing that capturing the princess's daughter would give them power. Myra's memories were fragmented, but enough remained to understand that danger was constant. She had escaped by instinct, guided by the instructions embedded in her device. John realized the stakes were higher than he had imagined. Protecting Myra was not just about safety. It was about keeping her lineage alive and maintaining balance on her planet. He began to plan. The first step was simple: ensure they could leave the immediate area without being detected. Myra, can you tell me if anyone is following us? John asked as he prepared the ship for takeoff. The girl pressed a small panel on her device. Lights flashed, and symbols shifted in the air. She pointed to a glowing dot moving through the forest. They are far, but coming. They have ships that can track life signs. John nodded. He understood now that time was critical. They had to move before the trackers closed in. He guided the ship out of the forest slowly, careful not to trigger alarms. Myra sat beside him, silent but alert. Her hand occasionally brushed his arm, a small gesture that reminded him why he was doing this. As they lifted into the air, the planet spread out beneath them like a living painting. The floating forests glowed in green and gold. Streams of light curved across the sky. John could see the outline of the palace in the distance, shimmering above the treetops. Myra's eyes widened. She pointed at it. That is where my mother is. I hope she is safe. John placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We will make sure she is safe. And one day, we will return you to her. But first, we must protect you. Myra nodded, her grip on the device tightening. She seemed to draw strength from John's calm presence. He realized that the bond forming between them was more than trust. It was connection, deeper than blood, stronger than distance. As they left the planet behind, John looked out at the stars. He knew this mission had changed. He was no longer just an explorer. He had become a protector, a guardian for a life far beyond his own world. Myra, the small alien girl, had chosen him as her father. And somehow, he felt that this choice would shape not just their lives, but the fate of her entire planet. The hum of the engines filled the ship as John set a course for a nearby safe zone. Myra leaned back, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. Yet, despite her fatigue, she looked at John with quiet confidence. He smiled softly. She trusted him completely. And that trust gave him a purpose he had never felt before. The adventure was just beginning. Unknown dangers awaited, and answers about Myra's past and her connection to her mother were still hidden. But for now, John knew one thing with certainty: he would not let anyone harm her. He would fight, protect, and guide her. He would be the father she believed him to be. As the stars stretched before them, John and Myra sailed into the unknown. Together, they would uncover secrets, face threats, and discover the true meaning of courage, trust, and family. The stars streaked past the ship as John guided it through the galaxy. Myra sat quietly beside him, her ember eyes watching the glowing dashboard. She held her device close, its soft light reflecting in her face. John felt a quiet sense of responsibility. He knew the journey ahead was dangerous, but he also knew he could not turn back. Myra's trust was absolute, and he had to protect her. Suddenly, the ship's sensors picked up a massive vessel approaching. Its shape was elegant, with smooth lines and glowing panels that reflected the light of distant stars. John's heart quickened. The readings indicated a high-level security ship, equipped with advanced technology. Someone important had arrived. Myra, John said carefully, we have company. Do you know who this might be? Myra's small hands trembled slightly. It is my mother, she whispered. Princess Arena. She has found me. John's mind raced. He had expected danger from unknown forces, but he had not expected her mother to arrive so soon. He wondered how she would react to seeing him with Myra. He could only hope for understanding. The ship docked with the larger vessel smoothly, and the doors opened. John stepped out first, keeping Myra close by his side. The corridor inside the ship was bright, polished, and filled with soft humming lights. Myra walked beside him silently, her eyes fixed on the end of the hallway where a figure appeared. Princess Arena was tall and regal. Her glowing attire reflected her royal status. Her eyes were sharp, intelligent, and full of authority. When she saw Myra, she moved quickly, almost running, her expression a mixture of relief and anger. Myra. Arena called, her voice clear and commanding. Myra ran forward, throwing herself into her mother's arms. Arena held her tightly, her eyes scanning John cautiously. And who is this? Arena asked, her tone firm. She looked at John, her gaze sharp and questioning. Myra looked up at John and said quietly, Father. The word echoed in the corridor. Arena froze. Her eyes widened in shock. She stared at John as if seeing him for the first time. Why does my daughter call you father? She demanded. Her voice trembled slightly, mixing confusion and disbelief. John swallowed, feeling the weight of her gaze. Princess Arena, he said carefully, I found Myra alone on the planet. She was in danger. She called me father before I even knew why. I do not know why either, but I have promised to protect her. Arena's eyes softened slightly as she looked at Myra, who clung to John's hand. The princess's expression was conflicted. She had been searching for her daughter, prepared for diplomacy, threats, or rescue. She had not prepared to find a human called her child's father. You say you do not know why she calls you father, Arena said slowly. Yet she does. And you have not denied her. John nodded. I have not denied her because she trusts me. I do not understand it completely, but I will protect her, no matter what. That is all I know for certain. Arena studied him closely. She could see the truth in his eyes. He was not lying. He was sincere. And more than that, he carried a calm strength, a determination that was rare. Her daughter had chosen him, and somehow, her instincts told her that John would keep Myra safe. I need to understand, Arena said quietly. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her racing thoughts. Come with me. We will speak in private. Myra will be safe, and I will try to understand why she believes you are her father. John nodded. He followed Arena through the corridors, with Myra walking between them. The princess's ship was vast, filled with advanced technology and glowing panels that monitored every system on the vessel. John could see why she was the leader of her people. Her presence commanded attention, respect, and efficiency. In a private chamber, Arena turned to John. Explain everything you know about her, she said. Her voice was firm but not hostile. John recounted the events carefully. He described finding Myra, her calling him father, the device she carried, and the bond that had formed between them. He explained that Myra had survived on instinct and that she trusted him completely. Arena listened silently, her eyes never leaving his. When he finished, she was quiet for a long moment. She has always been special, Arena said finally. Even as a child, she sensed things others could not. Perhaps she sensed something in you. Something her instincts knew she could trust. John felt a mixture of relief and tension. He wanted her to understand, but he also knew there was still danger. Princess, there are people who want to capture her. Rival factions. They know she exists and they will try to take her. We must act quickly. Arena's expression hardened. I know. That is why I am here. And now I see why my daughter called you father. You have the strength and courage to protect her when I could not be here. Myra watched the exchange quietly. She seemed to understand the tension between them, yet she also seemed pleased that her mother was accepting John in some way. She squeezed his hand, silently thanking him for keeping her safe. Arena took a step closer to John. I will not pretend I understand everything. But I see your intentions, your honesty, and your heart. You are not her father by blood, yet you have earned the trust she gives freely. That is rare and important. John felt a weight lift from him. Her words did not solve all questions, but they were enough to know he had been accepted, at least partially. He looked at Myra, who smiled faintly, her small hand still in his. Outside the chamber, sensors detected movement. The rival faction was approaching. Arena turned sharply. We do not have much time. We must secure the ship and prepare for their arrival. John nodded. Together, he, Myra, and Arena began coordinating defenses. Arena's presence brought authority, and John's knowledge of human technology complemented her advanced systems. Myra assisted where she could, her device glowing as it interfaced with the ship. The bond between the three of them was forming quickly. John realized that this partnership was not just about survival. It was about trust, understanding, and the unusual family that had come together under extraordinary circumstances. As the rival ships appeared on the sensors, John felt a surge of determination. Myra's safety was his responsibility, and with Princess Irina's guidance, they had a chance to face whatever came next. He looked at Myra, who met his eyes and whispered, "Father." John nodded firmly. "I will not let anything happen to you," he said. "We face this together." Irina stood beside him, her expression resolute. She had questions, doubts, and concerns, yet she knew one truth: John's presence was now part of her daughter's life. And together, they would face the dangers ahead, bound by trust, courage, and an unexpected but growing bond. The stars outside glowed brightly as the first signs of battle approached. For John, Myra, and Princess Irina, the adventure had become a fight for survival, understanding, and the strange, new family they were forming. The ship hummed steadily as John, Myra, and Princess Irina prepared for the journey ahead. Outside the viewports, distant stars stretched like streaks of silver light, while sensors detected the rival faction closing in. Tension filled the air, but a new question weighed heavier on all three minds. Why did Myra call John father? Irina guided them to a secure room deep inside the ship. The walls were smooth and metallic, with holographic panels displaying maps, star charts, and life signs. Myra held her device tightly, the faint glow pulsing like a heartbeat. Irina's expression was serious but calm. She wanted answers, and she needed them now. "Myra," Irina said softly, "show us the device. I need to understand everything." The girl hesitated, then held it out carefully. John activated the scanner again. As the device interfaced with the ship, a holographic display appeared, showing strands of glowing data. Images of Myra as a newborn floated in the air, alongside other unknown figures. Lines connected the images, forming a pattern that neither John nor Irina fully recognized. "What is this?" John asked, his voice quiet. Irina stepped closer, her eyes widening as she studied the data. "This is the lineage record," she said. Her voice trembled slightly. "It is used to preserve the bloodline of our royal family in case of danger. It tracks potential guardians who can protect a child if the mother is unable to." John looked at her, confused. "Potential guardians?" Irina nodded. "Yes. When a child of royal blood is at risk, a guardian must be chosen. Not by blood, but by qualities: strength, intelligence, courage, and the ability to love the child. Somehow, this device determined that you, John, were the right choice." John's mouth went dry. "Me?" he asked, barely able to believe it. Myra looked up at him, her small face calm but full of certainty. "It said you could protect me," she said. "It said you could love me. That is why I called you father." John swallowed hard. He had never imagined that he would be chosen for something so important, especially not on another planet. But as he looked at Myra, he understood. This was not just a child's instinct. This was a calculated choice made by the planet's advanced technology and her royal lineage. Irina placed a hand on his shoulder. "I did not expect this either. But seeing her call you father, seeing how she trusts you, it confirms what the device predicted. You are her guardian. You are her protector." John felt a surge of responsibility. It was no longer just about protecting Myra from danger. It was about honoring a trust that had been placed on him from birth, a trust that transcended worlds and species. Myra stepped forward, her small hand brushing his arm. "I know you will keep me safe," she said simply. "I feel it." John knelt slightly to be at her level. "I promise, Myra. I will always keep you safe. No matter what comes." Irina watched silently, a mixture of awe and relief in her eyes. She had feared losing her daughter forever. Now, she understood that John was more than a stranger. He was the guardian the lineage had chosen, the protector Myra needed. Before they could discuss further, the ship's sensors beeped urgently. The rival faction had arrived. Several sleek ships emerged from the darkness, moving toward them with precise coordination. Arena's eyes narrowed. They know she is here. We cannot wait any longer. John and Arena moved quickly. He adjusted the ship's shields and prepared the navigation system for evasive maneuvers. Myra's device interfaced with the ship, projecting defensive patterns and warning signals. Together, they formed a team, combining human ingenuity, alien technology, and royal knowledge. As the enemy ships closed in, Arena took control of communications. "Attention, intruders. You will not take my daughter," she said firmly. Her voice carried authority, and the rival faction hesitated for a moment, sensing her power. John's hands flew over the controls. "We need to use the planet's gravity to our advantage," he said. "I can maneuver us through the asteroid field nearby. It will make it harder for them to follow." Myra's eyes brightened. "I can guide you. I know the currents and energy flows of the planet. We can use them." Together, they prepared for the escape. The holographic map glowed with paths, highlighting safe zones and danger points. John felt a strange pride as he watched Myra and Arena work with him, each contributing in their own way. The bond between them was strong, and it gave him confidence. "Ready?" John asked. Myra nodded, gripping his hand. Arena's expression was calm but determined. "Yes. Let's go." The ship shot forward, diving toward the asteroid field. John's hands moved with precision, weaving between rocks and debris, while the enemy ships struggled to keep up. Myra's device glowed brightly, projecting signals that confused their pursuers. Arena monitored the enemy patterns, calling out instructions that helped John anticipate attacks. They moved as one, a strange but effective family formed under extraordinary circumstances. John realized that this was what Myra had meant when she called him father. It was not just protection. It was guidance, leadership, and trust. After a tense chase, they emerged from the asteroid field into open space. The enemy ships were far behind, struggling to recover. John let out a breath he had been holding. Myra smiled faintly, looking up at him with admiration. Arena approached, placing a hand on his shoulder again. "You have done well," she said. "This confirms what I feared and what I hoped at the same time. You are her guardian, and you have proven it under pressure." John shook his head slightly. "I could not have done it alone. Myra helped. You helped. Together, we succeeded." Myra squeezed his hand. "We are together," she said simply. Arena looked at the two of them, her heart heavy with relief and pride. "Yes. Together, we will face whatever comes next. And now, we must prepare for what we will discover about the rival faction and why they want Myra." John nodded, understanding that this was only the beginning. The truth about Myra's calling him father had been revealed, but more challenges lay ahead. The rival faction was determined, and the secrets of Myra's lineage were not fully uncovered. Yet, in that moment, John felt a deep sense of purpose. He was not just an explorer. He was a protector, a father, and a partner in a mission that could change the fate of an entire world. Myra's trust was his guide, and Princess Arena's support gave him the strength to face anything. As the ship sailed through the stars, John looked at Myra and then at Arena. He knew that together, they could survive, overcome threats, and uncover the mysteries of her world. The bond between them had been forged in trust and danger, and it would carry them through whatever challenges awaited. The journey ahead would be dangerous, but they were ready. Myra had her father, John had his responsibility, and Arena had the courage to trust the one chosen to protect her child. United, they faced the unknown with strength, hope, and determination. The stars faded behind them as John steered the ship through the atmosphere of Myra's planet. Below, glowing forests stretched endlessly, rivers shimmered with light, and strange creatures moved silently among the trees. John glanced at Myra, who pressed her small hand against the viewport, her eyes wide with awe. "We must find a safe place," John said, his voice calm but firm. "The rival faction is still tracking us. They will not stop until they capture Myra." Myra nodded, gripping her device. "I know a place," she said softly. "Deep in the forest. My mother taught me about it. It is hidden, protected by the energy currents of the planet." Arena studied the landscape below. "Are you sure, Myra?" she asked. "We cannot afford mistakes." "I am sure," Myra replied. "It is the only place they will not find us easily. We can rest there and plan our next move." John adjusted the controls, descending slowly. The ship's lights reflected on the glowing foliage as they touched down on a hidden plateau. The air here was warmer, filled with the soft hum of energy flowing through the plants. It was a place of safety, yet it felt alive and watchful. "Stay close to me," John said as they stepped outside. Myra took his hand immediately, while Arena scanned the surroundings with sharp eyes. The forest seemed peaceful, but John knew appearances could be deceptive. Myra led them through winding paths lit by floating plants. "The currents of the planet protect this place," she explained. "They hide us from outsiders. Only those who know the paths can find it." John followed, impressed by her knowledge. The small girl had survived alone for so long, and yet she guided them with confidence. It made him respect her courage even more. After walking for some time, they reached a clearing. In the center was a pool of water glowing softly, surrounded by energy stones. The place radiated calm and safety. Myra ran to the pool, kneeling beside it, and let her device hover above the stones. It pulsed in harmony with the environment. "This will hide us," she said. "They cannot find us here easily. The currents block trackers." John nodded. "Good work, Myra. Now we can rest and figure out our next steps." Arena stepped forward, placing a hand on Myra's shoulder. "You are brave, Myra," she said gently. "And John, you have proven yourself as her protector. Together, we make a strong team." For a moment, they allowed themselves to relax. Myra drank water from the pool, while John and Arena examined the energy stones. John noticed patterns and flows that could be used for defense or escape. He began formulating strategies in case the rival faction arrived again. Hours passed, and night fell. The forest glowed under the twin moons, casting silver light on the leaves. Myra fell asleep against John's arm, trusting him completely. Arena watched them both, a mixture of relief and admiration in her eyes. "John," she said quietly, "I did not expect to see my daughter call you father. Yet now I understand. She trusts you, and you have protected her when I could not. That bond is real and important." John nodded. "I never expected this either. But I feel it too. I will do anything to keep her safe." Arena smiled faintly. "We must rest. Tomorrow, we will plan how to stop the rival faction. They will not give up easily." The night passed peacefully, but John remained alert. Myra slept soundly beside him, and Arena kept watch. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing hour, a silent promise of protection and trust. The next morning, Myra awoke early. "We must prepare," she said, her voice quiet but determined. "They will come again. I can sense it." John and Arena followed her to the edge of the plateau. Using her device, Myra traced the energy currents in the forest. The currents shifted with the wind and the movement of creatures, creating natural barriers and hidden paths. John realized that Myra's knowledge, combined with his technology and Arena's leadership, gave them a unique advantage. "Good," John said. "We will use this to set traps and plan our escape if they arrive. We cannot fight them head-on. We must be clever." Myra nodded, pointing to specific areas where the forest's energy could conceal them. Arena studied the map, impressed by the young girl's understanding of her world. She has learned quickly, Arena said softly. She knows more than many adults. And she trusts you completely, John. That is rare. John looked at Myra. You have survived so much, Myra. I am proud of you. But now we work together. We will protect you, and we will not let them harm you. The forest around them seemed to shift slightly, as if sensing their resolve. Strange creatures watched from a distance, curious but harmless. Myra's device pulsed again, syncing with the energy currents. John realized the place itself seemed to support them, guiding their movements and hiding their presence. Suddenly, distant sounds echoed through the forest. The rival faction had found their approximate location. John's heart quickened, but he kept his voice calm. They are coming, he said. We must be ready. Arena activated the ship's systems remotely, preparing defensive measures. Myra focused on the currents, projecting signals that would mislead their pursuers. Together, they created a network of protection, combining human technology and the planet's natural defenses. Hours passed as the faction approached. Using the energy currents, John, Myra, and Arena moved through hidden paths, avoiding detection. The forest itself seemed to assist them, blocking trackers and masking their presence. They worked as a team, communicating silently through gestures and signals. By evening, the rival faction's ships had passed by the hidden plateau, unable to locate them. John breathed a sigh of relief. Myra looked up at him, smiling faintly. You kept your promise, she said softly. We are safe. John knelt beside her. I will always keep my promise, Myra. Always. Arena joined them, placing a hand on both of their shoulders. This is only the beginning. But today, we survived together. Today, we proved that trust and courage can overcome danger. Myra's small hand rested in John's, and for the first time in a long time, she felt safe. John understood that the bond they shared was more than protection. It was family, trust, and hope. As the twin moons rose, casting silver light across the forest, John, Myra, and Arena sat together. They were safe for now, but the challenges ahead would test their courage and their bond. Yet, John felt confident. With Myra's knowledge, Arena's leadership, and his own determination, they could face any danger. Together, they would survive. Together, they would uncover the mysteries of Myra's lineage and the threats that sought to control her. And most importantly, John knew he would always be there for Myra, the small alien girl who had called him father, no matter what the universe threw at them. The forest was alive with the soft hum of energy as John, Myra, and Princess Arena prepared for the rival faction's return. Myra's device pulsed brightly, mapping the energy currents and creating hidden paths that only they could use. John studied the holographic map projected from the device. He knew the enemy would be clever, but they had something the faction could not anticipate: unity and trust. They will come through the valley, John said, pointing to the map. It is the most direct route to us. We can use it to set traps. Arena nodded, her face serious. We cannot fight them head-on. We must be smart, use the forest and the currents to our advantage. Myra, can you guide us? Myra's small hands hovered over her device. Yes. The currents shift constantly. I will show you safe paths and ways to confuse them. They will not find us easily. John smiled faintly. Good. Let's make this work. As the sun dipped behind the glowing trees, they set their plan in motion. The forest was their ally. Energy currents created illusions, hiding their presence and redirecting sensors. John positioned small, human-made traps along the likely paths, while Myra's device amplified the forest's natural defenses. Arena guided them, using her knowledge of strategy and observation to coordinate their moves. Hours passed, and the first signs of the rival faction appeared. Ships glided silently above the forest, scanning for life signs. John, Myra, and Arena waited patiently, their hearts steady. They had prepared for this moment, and now it had arrived. Suddenly, lights flickered on the enemy ships. They were scanning aggressively, moving closer to the plateau where the trio hid. John tightened his grip on the controls. They are near. Get ready. Myra's device glowed, sending pulses into the forest. The energy currents shifted, creating false trails and hiding their location. John moved quickly, coordinating with Myra's signals. Arena observed the enemy patterns, calling out directions that allowed them to stay one step ahead. The first enemy scouts moved through the valley below. They were humanoid but heavily armored, equipped with advanced technology. John activated one of the traps. A net made of energy strands lifted silently, capturing the lead scout. The others hesitated, confused by the sudden disappearance of their companion. Arena used the distraction to guide John and Myra to a higher vantage point. "We can use the forest above to ambush them," she said. "They cannot see the currents as we do." John nodded. "Good idea. Myra, can you create another diversion?" Myra pressed her device, and glowing signals shot through the forest. The enemy scouts followed the false trails, moving further into the maze of currents. John, Arena, and Myra climbed to a hidden ridge, overlooking the valley. The enemy faction had not expected resistance. They believed the forest was uninhabited. Now, they were trapped in a network of illusions and traps. John adjusted his controls to activate a series of energy barriers, slowing the enemy further. Arena smiled faintly. "They are underestimating us. That is their mistake." Myra looked at John, her small face serious. "We can protect ourselves. We are together." John felt a surge of determination. Myra's words were simple, but they carried strength. He realized that this was more than a fight for survival. It was a test of their unity, courage, and trust in one another. The enemy scouts tried to regroup, but the forest's currents and their traps made coordination impossible. John's hands moved swiftly, activating traps and creating barriers. Arena observed from above, calling out directions and pointing out weak spots in the enemy formation. Myra continued to guide them, projecting energy pulses that confused sensors and misled their pursuers. Hours passed, and the rival faction's reinforcements arrived. John knew they had to act decisively. "We cannot hold them forever. We must end this now." Arena nodded. "We have one chance. Use the currents to lead them into the canyon. Once they are there, the traps will finish it." John guided the enemy ships toward the canyon, using Myra's device to manipulate the energy currents. The enemy followed, unaware of the danger that awaited. The canyon was narrow, filled with traps, energy barriers, and shifting currents. As the faction entered, the first traps activated. Energy nets lifted, catching ships and immobilizing them. Barriers shifted, blocking exits and confusing their movements. Arena directed them from above, ensuring they remained contained. John moved quickly, guiding Myra and adjusting the traps to maximize their effectiveness. Myra's device pulsed brightly, sending waves of energy that disoriented the enemy. John felt a sense of pride. Together, they had created a defense that relied on trust, intelligence, and teamwork. They were unstoppable because they were united. The rival factions struggled in the canyon, unable to escape or regroup. Their technology was advanced, but they had underestimated the combination of human ingenuity, alien knowledge, and royal strategy. Finally, the last of the enemy ships were immobilized. John, Myra, and Arena stood on the ridge, overlooking the canyon. The enemy was defeated, unable to pursue them further. Myra ran to John, her small arms around his waist. "We did it," she whispered. "You protected me." John knelt, holding her close. "We did it together," he said. "You were brave, Myra. Arena's guidance and your help made it possible." Arena stepped forward, placing a hand on both of them. This victory is proof of what we can do together. John, you are more than a protector. You are part of our family now. Myra's trust in you is well placed, and you have proven yourself. John smiled faintly, feeling the weight of responsibility and pride. Myra hugged him tightly. I am glad you are my father, she said softly. John felt a warmth in his chest. It was more than relief. It was connection, trust, and love, the kind that grew from shared danger and care. He looked at Arena, who nodded approvingly. The bond between them was strong, unbreakable in this moment. The forest around them was calm once more. The currents pulsed gently, as if the planet itself recognized their victory. John, Myra, and Arena took a moment to breathe, knowing the danger had passed for now. They had survived because they trusted each other, worked together, and never gave up. John realized something important. This was not just a battle. It was a lesson. Strength alone could not protect Myra. Strategy alone could not defeat the enemy. Only unity, trust, and courage could guide them through danger. And together, they had proven they could face anything. As the twin moons rose, casting silver light over the forest and canyon, John held Myra's hand. Arena stood beside them, her eyes filled with pride. They had won, but they also knew more challenges would come. Yet, John felt confident. With Myra's instincts, Arena's leadership, and his determination, they could face whatever lay ahead. The enemy had been defeated, but the journey was far from over. Together, they were strong, and together, they would continue to protect Myra and uncover the mysteries that awaited them. For now, they had survived. And that survival had forged a bond that could never be broken. The battle over, the forest settled into quiet calm. The glowing trees shimmered softly, and the currents hummed gently, as if acknowledging the victory of John, Myra, and Princess Arena. The rival faction had retreated, unable to capture Myra, and the danger that had loomed over them for so long had faded for now. John sat on a smooth stone, Myra curled beside him, her small head resting against his shoulder. Her device glowed softly, casting warm light around them. Arena watched them both, standing tall, her expression a mixture of relief and pride. You have both done well, Arena said, her voice calm but strong. The forest kept us safe, but it was your courage and teamwork that defeated the enemy. John, you have proven yourself as Myra's protector. And Myra, you have shown bravery beyond your years. Myra looked up at Arena with wide eyes. Mother, will they come back? She asked softly. Arena shook her head. They may try, but we are ready. The currents, the forest, and our plans will keep you safe. And now, we have time to rebuild and strengthen our defenses. You are no longer alone, Myra. John held Myra's hand tightly. I will always be here for you, he said quietly. No matter what. You are safe with me. Myra smiled faintly and whispered, I know, Father. Arena's eyes softened. She had worried about her daughter for so long, and seeing Myra trust John so completely brought a sense of relief she could not describe. She approached John, her gaze steady. I do not fully understand how this happened. Yet, I see the bond between you and my daughter. It is real, strong, and important. You are part of our family now. John felt a warmth in his chest. He had never imagined being accepted in this way by someone so powerful, someone so important. And yet, here he was, trusted by both Myra and her mother. He knew his responsibilities were great, but he also knew he was ready. Thank you, Princess Arena, John said sincerely. I will protect Myra with everything I have. And I will honor the trust you have placed in me. Arena nodded. I believe you will. Myra chose wisely. And now, we must think of the future. There are still many challenges on our planet, and your role, John, is vital. Myra looked up at him, her small hand resting in his. "Father, will we go back to the palace?" she asked. John glanced at Irina. "If you think it is safe," he said. "We can return, but only when we are ready." Irina considered this carefully. The palace is secure, but the rival factions may still be watching. We will return slowly, cautiously. But yes, the child belongs with her mother and her people. And she belongs with you, John. Together, you are her family. Myra smiled, feeling comforted. For the first time in what felt like forever, she believed she was truly safe. She trusted John completely, and now her mother accepted him as well. John looked around at the glowing forest. The place had been their sanctuary, and it had shown him how the planet itself could protect those who respected it. He realized that survival depended not only on strength but also on understanding, teamwork, and trust. These were the qualities that had kept them alive and had forged their bond. Irina turned to Myra. "You are ready, my daughter. You have survived, learned, and grown. Now, it is time to reconnect with your people and your responsibilities. And you have a father to protect you every step of the way." Myra's small eyes shone with determination. "I am ready, mother," she said. "And I am glad John is with me." John smiled and knelt beside her. "We will face everything together," he said. "No one will harm you as long as I am here." The next days were spent preparing for their return to the palace. John learned more about the planet, its energy currents, and the creatures that lived among the forests. Irina guided him, explaining traditions, laws, and the ways of her people. Myra shared her knowledge freely, proud to show John the secrets she had learned during her time in hiding. Together, they planned every step carefully. They ensured that the rival faction would not have the opportunity to interfere, and they reinforced the palace's defenses. John felt a sense of purpose he had never known before. Protecting Myra was no longer just a duty, it was a mission that gave his life meaning. Finally, the day arrived to return to the palace. The ship lifted from the hidden plateau, gliding smoothly above the glowing forests. Myra stood beside John, holding his hand tightly. Irina stood behind them, observing both with a sense of pride and relief. As they approached the palace, Myra's eyes widened in awe. The floating city shimmered in the sunlight, towers reflecting gold and green light. People moved along bridges and terraces, unaware of the small family returning to their midst. "Stay close," John said softly. "We will land safely, but keep your eyes open." Myra nodded, her hand tightening around his. The ship descended slowly, and the energy currents of the palace grounds welcomed them, guiding them safely. Irina stepped forward to meet her daughter, smiling warmly. "Welcome home, Myra," she said. Myra ran to her mother, hugging her tightly. John watched them, feeling a mix of pride and happiness. Then Myra looked up at him. "Father, come with us," she said, her voice filled with hope and trust. John felt a deep warmth in his chest. He nodded, smiling. "I will," he said. "I belong with you, Myra. And I will always protect you." Irina stepped aside, her eyes softening. "Then it is decided. You are part of our family now, John. Together, we will face the future." The palace welcomed them, its people observing the small procession with curiosity and respect. Myra walked beside John, holding his hand as she returned to her home. Irina followed closely, guiding and supporting them both. As night fell, the city glowed under the twin moons, a symbol of safety, hope, and unity. John, Myra, and Irina stood together on a terrace overlooking the floating city. The rival faction had been defeated, the child was safe, and a new beginning awaited them. Myra leaned against John, her eyes shining. "Father, I am glad you are here," she whispered. John smiled, holding her close. "And I am glad you called me father, Myra." We will face everything together. Always. Arena stood beside them, her hand resting lightly on John's shoulder. Together, we are stronger than any threat. This is our future. And we will protect it. The stars stretched across the sky, peaceful and endless. John, Myra, and Princess Arena gazed at them, united by trust, courage, and love. They had survived danger, uncovered secrets, and formed a family stronger than blood alone. In that moment, John realized that this was more than survival. It was hope, connection, and a bond that could endure any challenge. Myra's trust had given him purpose, and Arena's acceptance had given him belonging. The journey ahead would have challenges, but for the first time, John felt confident. Together, they would face the unknown. Together, they would protect their family. And together, they would embrace a new beginning filled with courage, love, and hope for the future. The galaxy stretched before them, full of possibilities. And in the center of it all, John held Myra's hand, ready to face whatever came next, as her father, her protector, and her guide.